So good morning. Thanks for making the time. My name is Annie Nash. I am the Regional Education Program Manager on the Google for Education team, and I live and work in Chicago and support districts around the great state of Illinois. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to my teammate and colleague, Jennifer Brown, who's also an Illinoisan, who is going to be leading the session. Over to you, Jennifer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Annie. Hi, y'all. Thanks for jumping in. Oh my gosh, in the middle of a school day. So happy to have you. We are going to make this a fantastic, engaging session. I hope that you're ready to maybe do a little participation with me because I would love to hear from you. Before we kick things off, as Annie said, I'm Jennifer Brown. I am also a Google Regional Program Manager. I support the great state of California, but I was a former school teacher from Illinois. I taught in Des Plaines as a tenured teacher for a number of years before I made the move over. So today we're all getting together to talk about preparing our students for the future of work. This is a topic that just gets me pumped, gets me buzzed. We're talking about kind of the future of work. I do have a little question I'd like to pose to you. You can either come off mute for this or throw your answer into the chat, but I would like you to think, when you talk to a young person about their future, what is a question that you like to ask them? So when you talk to a young person about their future, what is a question that you like to ask them? Either come off mute or throw me an idea in the chat. What would you ask a young person when you're thinking about their future? Ooh, okay, so we have some responses in the chat. James asks, what do you enjoy? Ooh, I love that. Kind of probing to find out what their interests are. Tara says, instead of what do you want to be when you grow up, I love asking what problem might you want to solve. Tara, love that. Karen says, what activities make you happy? Yeah, what kind of sparks joy? I am so excited that myself and Tara, if you pronounce it Tara, just tell me. I'm so excited because we are on the same wavelengths. People love to ask the question, what do you want to be when you grow up, right? We say it no matter what age. You say it to the young ones and you might get answers. I remember asking this when I taught first grade. I would do a unit on communities and I would get the, classic, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be a police officer. I would get the, I want to be a teacher like you, Mrs. Brown. And it's like, oh, melts your heart. Then you might ask some of the older kids and I would get like, oh, I'm going to be a YouTuber, or I'm going to be a TikToker like Charlie D'Amelio. Like, you never know what you're going to get, right? Now, I am also in the camp as Tara, who wrote in the chat. I don't love this question. And here's why. Here's why I don't love the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? Because asking that question assumes that the job market is going to look the way it does today. And I will tell you, based on research that I have been doing for a number of years now, the job market, and you guys might know this, it's not exactly predictable right now. And I'll tell you why. It's because we are in the midst of really a job revolution where there is so much automation and advancement in technology, and a lot of those traditional jobs are being replaced by automation. And so we really don't know what it's going to look like, and we can't really say what they're going to be when they grow up. So I love the suggestion of, what problem do you want to solve? Tara, did you see that coming? Girl, you were on the same wavelength as me. You knew this presentation already. She's like, amazing. What problem do you want to solve? And look, folks, it doesn't have to be a big social problem, okay? It doesn't have to be, I'm going to end world hunger, all right? Think about the people who walk into the Shark Tank. Anybody who has been there is there because they have a problem that they have wanted to solve. You really have to consider your passions. I think back to Karen's question and James's question, asking about what their interests are. That's so important because once you ask this question, I want you to take it a step further after they respond and ask them, well, how are you going to solve it? And when you ask this question, keep in mind, there are so many ways to tackle a problem. When we think about, integrating things like design thinking, we know this, right? When we're kind of ideating and prototyping, there are many ways and angles that you can come at a problem. And so when they're thinking of how are they going to solve it, think about using their gifts, their talents, their passions. Take, for example, let's say climate change. That's a problem. That's a problem lots of people are working to solve. Throw into the chat or feel free to come off of mute. Who do you think out there is tackling climate change? What are some jobs or what are some positions or folks who are tackling climate change right now? What do you guys think? Feel free, throw something in the chat, come off of mute. Karen says scientists. We've got scientists. Anybody else? And if you're just joining, welcome. And we are asking the question, think about climate change. Who is working to solve that problem? Who is working to solve that problem? Well, I'll tell you, when I give this presentation, I get scientists. I get some people who say a little sarcastic, politicians, right? They're trying to work. Tara says, I hope we're all trying to solve it. What about a photographer? What about somebody who is going to tackle the problem of climate change by using their gifts and their talents to capture powerful imagery to try to spark a change, to get a feeling in someone? Beth, I'm right there with you as well. So again, there are many ways that you can solve a problem. And then we need to think, what are the skills that you're going to need? What are the abilities? What are the knowledge? And I like to ask this because if we as educators are truly preparing our students to succeed in solving the problems that they want to solve, we need to be giving them the opportunities to practice and hone those skills. And I've heard this quote bandied around a lot that says, we're preparing students for jobs that don't yet exist. And okay, that's true in some sense, but we can predict and we can use current market research to identify trends to get our kids on the right path. Here's the cool thing. By the end of this presentation, I am going to give you 4 skills that all students can use to solve any problem. I know, big claim. Jen Brown just came in and made a big claim. I'm going to give you 4 skills that they can use to solve any problem. It's going to be backed by research. I'm very excited to get there. So just know that that is coming. But before that, you guys, the Mrs. Brown teacher and me, I can't help myself. If I have a captive audience, I'm going to do a history lesson. We're going to do it fast. We're going to do it rapid fire, but we need to understand the future of jobs. And before we can talk about the future of jobs and those future ready skills, we need to know where we're coming from. We need to have an understanding of how we got here. And so I am going to take you through just a fast-paced review of the different industrial revolutions. Notice I said industrial revolutions, more than one. Anybody want to throw in the chat how many you think that we have gone through or are including the one we're in the middle of? How many have we gone through? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What do you think? Karen says maybe 7. James says 4. Interesting. We'll find out. Thank you for casting your vote. Here we go. It all started off with the fourth industrial revolution. This was in the 18th century, powered by water and steam. You have steam and water power replacing human and animal power with machines, right? Then after that, in the 19th century comes the advent of electricity, internal combustion engines, airplanes, phones, cars, radios, mass production. Think Henry Ford and the assembly line. All of that is your second industrial revolution. Who remembers the 70s? Woo! All right, the Industrial Revolution that kicked off in the 70s, that was born of automation, folks. Electronics, the internet, information technology, all of them were used to further the automation of mass production. And James, you said 4. You are right on the money, my friend. Here we are in 2022. We find ourselves in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. This is the era of cyber-physical. You've got mobile supercomputing, high-speed mobile internet, intelligent robots, self-driving cars, neurotechnological brain enhancements, genetic editing. I could go on. 3D printing, immersive technology, artificial intelligence, cloud technology. Whoa. So when we ask our students, what problem do you want to solve and how are you going to solve it? Let's remember the tools that are going to be at their disposal. It is going to be rooted in technology, which is the direction that we are moving as a global society. And what we're also going to notice is that those 4 skills I told you about, you're going to note that those skills are going to be unique to humans. And what I mean by that is it will not easily be replicated by automated workflows or robotics. Now, I'm making some big claims here. Where am I making these claims from? Much of the research that I've done comes from the Future of Jobs report. This is a report that's put out by the World Economic Forum. Great institution. They're a not-for-profit international foundation. They're a blend of public and private sectors. Think the world's 1,000 leading companies, academic institutions. They all get together and they put together, amongst many projects that they do, a Future of Jobs report. And this is looking at trends that are expected in the jobs and skills of the future. They're looking closely in the latest report at the 2020 to 2025 period. And the cool thing is they're looking across 20 global economies. They're looking across 12 industry sectors. So not just technology, they're looking at consumer, oil and gas, mining and metals, global health and healthcare, aviation, travel, tourism. There's so many, agriculture, etc. Now, we're going to look at some infographics. I pulled from the original source material, the report, these infographics. The font, I'm going to call it right now for accessibility reasons, is a little small. I am going to give you the link to these slides at the end, so you'll be able to zoom in at your leisure, and I'll also narrate over some of that for you as well. So let's start off by looking at the top 20 roles that are increasing in demand and decreasing in demand across industries. So we're going to take a look at some of these, and I have some arrows to help kind of guide us for the information that we're looking at here. So what I just pulled up, you saw some light blue arrows appear on the screen there. We are looking at some of the jobs that are growing in demand that we saw in the 2018 survey that they did. Kind of take a look at some of these. I'm starting at the bottom one. We've got robotics engineers, software and application developers, digital transformation specialists, AI and machine learning specialists, data analysts and scientists. You're going to see a big focus on data, a big focus on computer science. Now, there are some jobs that were newly emerging in this report that we had never seen before. Some of those include process automation specialists, information security analysts. We know information and cybersecurity is huge. And I love this one, Internet of Things specialist. A little vague, but Internet of Things is basically think anything that's kind of connected to the internet and uses it as part of its functionality. So again, we see, and remember, this is across 12 industries and this is global, we see this big push for computer science needs. Now, at the opposite end of the scale, what roles have been decreasing in demand? Let's take a look at some of those by the red arrows. Take a look at what you see there. We've got data entry clerks, administrative and executive secretaries, accounting, bookkeeping, payroll clerks, accountants, auditors, assembly and factory workers. When you look at all of those, anything stick out to you that they all have in common? Feel free, throw it in the chat or come off of mute. What do you notice that the jobs that are decreasing in demand, what do they have in common? Take a second to think about that. Feel free to put it in the chat or come off of mute. What do you notice or wonder for what they have in common? So Beth points out technology and computers. Ooh, Beth, I love this. When you say you notice that they have technology and computers in common, what about the technology or computers are you thinking about? Like, what do you notice for those jobs that are decreasing? Feel free to either come off mute or you could follow
Yeah,
that.
I'm
Yeah.
just gonna unmute. That's a lot of typing. Just the future is so based in the need to know computers and technology. Like, it's just amazing how important those skills are.
Mhm.
Skills that my generation was never taught were important for employment are now, it seems like, and I mean, I'm squinting to read this because I'm old and the font is small, but everything looks like it's some form of like a STEM related career, everything with the arrows for increasing demand.
Mhm. Mhm. I totally feel that, Beth. And sometimes when I present this, people will say, well, is this just focused on the technology industry? And I have to remind them that no, these are jobs that would take place across 12 different industries. Um, they all have an element of needing some form of information technology and management in there. Um, Tara says too, when she looks at what's decreasing in demand, she notices that those jobs could be automated or done differently than in the past, even without a human being. You nailed that right on the head, Tara. Those jobs right there, they can be done faster, more effectively, more efficiently, more accurately with a machine. Barb also notes the use of the internet and computers, very data driven. Thank you guys for those reflections. I appreciate that. I'm going to take us into something that I found really interesting, because for all the jobs that are going away, and I don't want you to, feel any panic or fear about like the machines are taking our jobs, because here's the thing. Job disruption is counterbalanced by job creation in new fields. We call these the jobs of tomorrow. Over the coming decade, a small share of newly created jobs will be in wholly new occupations or existing occupations that will undergo a significant transformation in terms of their content and skill requirements. So what you're seeing for the jobs of tomorrow are 99 jobs that are consistently growing in demand across 20 global economies. And we've put them into professional clusters according to skill similarity. So when you look at some of these, you can see these are newly created jobs, or it's a field that already existed but is undergoing significant transformation, like sales. Oh my gosh, you guys, I think since man has been able to communicate with fellow man, sales, we've been trying to sell something to our fellow human beings, right? Sales is as old as time. But the way we go about selling, the way folks go about doing that practice is so different now compared to how it used to be 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. Think about the, evolution of the door-to-door salesman and what it looks like now. So much of consumer sales is driven by e-commerce, right? You go into Amazon if you need something, you can order from the app. The pandemic really accelerated that e-commerce industry as well. So many of us were ordering from home, from apps, to get what we needed. There are other brand new industries that are just blooming. When you look at engineering, look at some of these jobs. It's small, so I will narrate. Python developer, JavaScript developer, a software developer, .NET. I mean, some of these require those heavy computer science skills. In fact, this is something that Google is so passionate about. There was not really a petition, but a call to action from a group of CIOs. I believe it's CIOs for CS, or computer science, and they signed this call to action or pledge, really calling for computer science to be taught in all educational institutions because of how important the understanding of that language is. Even if a child is not going to become a developer, their ability to speak that computer science language will open so many doors for them. You can also see they have categories in data and AI or artificial intelligence. There are calls for people who are able to analyze that data, data scientists, data engineers, data consultants. There are so many aspects of working with data, even if someone maybe isn't really into the spreadsheets and pulling and creating those reports. There are consultant roles where they can come and do that person-to-person support. So that's something else to think about. Then you've got people in culture, marketing, those very human soft skills that we need. These are all included in the jobs of tomorrow. Now, when we think about these jobs, remember one of the questions I asked were, well, what skills are you going to need to solve the problem you want to solve? Let's take a look at some of the emerging and declining skills. I promised I was going to give you 4 that you could leave with that students could use to solve any problem. We're getting closer to those 4. Now, what you're seeing here is an infographic, and it's going to be skills and skill groups that are both growing in demand by 2025 and decreasing in demand. So when you see more of the dark blue, it means it's increasing. The light blue means that demand is stable. The tan means it is decreasing. So skills that we are seeing at this time, which are rapidly increasing in demand: critical thinking and analysis, and problem solving. Those are our top 2. They have stayed at the top of the agenda with year-on-year consistency since they've been pulling the Future of Jobs report. As teachers, we've known this. Am I right? Like, we have known critical thinking and analysis and problem solving are important. But to see that be validated at a global level is just, that's so key for us when we are making the case for why we need to build this into our curriculum. Now, let's look at a few others here that I thought were wildly interesting. Self-management, resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility, active learning and learning strategies. Now, again, those of us who are boots on the ground in the classroom, we know firsthand. Kids, and I use that for all grade levels, children, students, do not walk through a door already having fully developed stress tolerance and resilience. This is a skill that needs to be explicitly taught. And you will sometimes hear debate about the relevance of teaching things like social emotional learning and resilience in the classroom. But right here in black and white, the data shows there is a demand for this. This is something that not only our students need, but we need as well. The ability to manage ourselves. That is huge. Now, if you want to look at the skills that are decreasing, that includes things like physical abilities. You'll see that that has the most tan or the most decreasing. But man, when I saw stress tolerance, resilience, I thought, thank goodness that they're calling that out as a need, because it's something that, just from my experience, I know that our kids need. All right, we are almost at those top 4 skills I was going to give you. We're at the top 10 right now. So when we focus more closely on the top 10 skills of 2025, we begin to see patterns, and we can begin to group some of these based on fundamental tenets of those skills. I'm going to pause just so you can take the list in. The font is a little bit bigger, so hopefully the readability will be better for you here. As you look at these, you'll notice that they are color-coded, and there is a key that is showing you the color coding. Take a look at those. Anyone have any wonderings or questions when you look at this list? Does it spark anything in you that makes you go, I'll say when I was looking at this, I was kind of in the same place as Barb. Barb said, doesn't surprise me. I was right there with you, Barb. I thought, boy, a lot of this sounds similar to what we used to talk about with the 4 C's, right? Creativity, communication, collaboration, all of that. That's something we used to talk about. Beth brings up the importance of STEM, the importance of that technology, engineering, science, math. It's all here. Karen says there's not many that are there about working with people. And I found that kind of interesting too, Karen. I think that they kind of weave it in when they talk about leadership and social influence, but I don't see the word collaboration or communication called out specifically. So I found that kind of interesting as well. Now, the World Economic Forum takes those skills, and what they do is they bucket them into the 4 that you see here in the bottom left key. Surprise, surprise. Remember, I told you I was going to give you 4 skills that they could use to solve any problem? It was looking at you in the face this whole time, folks. Those 4 skills, and I'm going to blow them up on their own big slide. Here we go. This is more readable. This is the Jen Brown slide version of it. I took that key and I made it its own big one. Of those top 10 skills of 2025, we can bucket those 10 skills into these 4 skill buckets. I call them the 4 core life and career skill buckets. We've got problem solving. We've got self-management, working with people, and technology use and development. I did not come up with these on my own. This is using that research from the World Economic Forum of what are academic institutions looking for, what are companies looking for when they're hiring. This is what they're looking for. And if you have these skills in your back pocket, if you are practicing these on a daily basis in your school life, in your home life, you are going to be set up for success. Now, when I look at these, I like to think, how can I use this and integrate this idea into my classroom? Well, because I am here with Google, my lens is usually going to be through the lens of digital tools and technology. How can we take this idea of my students need to problem solve? They need to be able to have self-management, work with others, and really be strong in understanding how to use and develop technology. We can use this as educators to help guide us in how we evaluate the tools we bring in our classroom. We can use these in a number of ways, this information, but that is the way that I'm going to kind of use this information today. I'm going to use these top 4 skills to help me evaluate digital creator tools that I bring in my classroom. I am going to define what I mean when I say a digital creator tool. I'll do that in just a moment. But before I do, there is something that I absolutely have to call out. And I always call this out if I have a captive audience. There are so many things I would love you to take away from this presentation. One of them is this. When you think of the skill, technology use and development, and when you think of digital learning environments that you're creating in your classroom, whether it's a digital online hub like within Google Classroom or something like that, or you made a Google site for your classroom website, or you're making a project that kids are going to build something out in a digital space, there is something that I want you to think of, and it is the Universal Design for Learning Guidelines, also known in shorthand as UDL. If anyone is using UDL, feel free to shout that out in the chat. I always like to get a pulse of like who already has heard of this and is using it. Technology development really does mean a lot of things, but one thing in particular that I like to point out has to do with user experience or UX design. If you are teaching in a one-to-one environment, which majority of folks in North America now are after the pandemic, you're creating digital environments that your students engage and learn within. Now, this goes beyond understanding core concepts of technology into a broader area of understanding these truths. Human beings are neurodiverse, and thus we interact with, and learn information in diverse ways. So how can we be sure that we are meeting all students where they are? A framework has been built out to support this inclusion conversation. It's been done by a nonprofit education research and development org known as CAST, and this is the Universal Design for Learning Framework. And it was developed to improve and optimize teaching and learning for all people based on scientific insights into how students learn. Now, this framework has a companion resource, the UDL guidelines. That's what you see on your screen now. These offer a set of concrete suggestions that can be applied to any discipline to ensure that all learners can access and participate in meaningful, challenging learning opportunities. So we're about to consider right now how we evaluate technology tools that we bring into the classroom. And I'm going to bring the conversation back to these core tenets of UDL. If you're not familiar with these guidelines, this presentation is not going to dig deeply beyond this slide into the framework. This is me just exposing you to it and highly recommending just Google Universal Design for Learning. It'll come up right away from cast.org. Dig more deeply into them. It's something I absolutely would be getting familiar with, but I am going to come back to referencing these guidelines when I talk about evaluating tools. You might be questioning, well, Jennifer, the tools that I'm given are just the tools that I have access to from the district. I don't really maybe have the time to go through and analyze them. And I wonder if maybe you have ever felt like this, which is how I felt after ISTE. Sorting through the digital tool overload. There is a lot that's out there. This is but a small sample of what is available in the K-12 space for digital tools. And it can feel like there is a lot. There's a lot of different tools that do different things. And I know, and I'm guilty of this from when I was in the classroom, I felt like I needed to use the 64 pack of Crayola crayons. That is what was available to me. I was lucky in my school district to have access to so many apps, and I felt like if I'm going to be a good teacher, I have to use them all. I am here today to dispel the myth for you and say, I promise you don't have to use all the crayons to be an effective teacher, to hit those skills that your students need. In fact, it would probably behoove your students far more if instead of the 64 pack, you went and bought the 5-pack. I'm aware the picture is of a 4-pack of crayons, but I'm saying 5 for a reason, because what I'm going to do is give you what I would consider to be the top 5 digital creator tools that if your students get very well practiced with them, they will have skills that will carry over into the next grade level and the next grade level, and it will help them with their technology use and development. Here's what we're going to look at today. We are going to evaluate what those 5 tools are, and we're going to look for certain things. We're going to look for the ability for students to create, and I'm going to call that the blank canvas effect, where I quite literally mean a blank canvas that we're giving to our students. We are also going to look for collaboration opportunities or a shared project space. We're going to analyze based on UDL, and we're going to ask, does this app have multiple means of representation for information shared? And then we're going to judge based on those life and career skills that we talked about: problem solving, self-management, working with people, and technology use and development. So we're going to take everything that we've talked about up till now and apply it to analyzing these digital creator tools. And when I say a digital creator tool, I don't mean an LMS. I don't mean a digital curriculum like Pearson or Houghton Mifflin or McGraw-Hill. I mean literally a tool that students will use to create a product or an artifact of learning. That is what we're going to evaluate today. Those other tools are in a different category. They do different things. We are just going to focus on digital creator tools. So we are going to start off with a presentation builder. Woo! You're probably like, Jen Brown, I thought you were going to give me something I'd never heard of before. I know what a presentation builder is. And I will say to you, I know, but here's the thing. Presentation builders are often so underutilized. There is so much a presentation builder can do outside of being a slide deck. It is the ultimate collaborative blank canvas. And I'll tell you right now, if you don't have Google Slides, if you have Microsoft PowerPoint, I don't care. That does not matter. What matters is that the student is getting the opportunity to practice skills and having access to a tool that does what a presentation builder does. And here is what it does. There are so many elements of universal design for learning that can be used within a presentation builder. Not only can you have text and images, but you can put in video. You can use closed captioning the way I'm doing right now as I present this to you. You can use speech to text in speaker notes. There is so much accessibility functionality within presentation builders because they've been around for a while and they are very well developed. Now, I added in Google Docs as an example of a presentation builder, and here's why. They just launched a pageless format, which gets rid of that gap between different pages and makes it one big white blank canvas, which opens it up and makes it almost like an internet web page. It is very cool. I will tell you, my journey from teacher to education consultant to Googler, I would not have been able to take that journey without being very skilled in using a presentation builder. I was able to apply elements of design and ways of just presenting information that helped me so much in my career journey. It's something that I highly recommend. If you've been sleeping on a presentation builder, dig back into it. And there are lots of prolific bloggers that will give you updates on how they use it for journals, for social emotional learning journals. There are so many ways. Now, the second one that I would give, this is my second crayon number 2 in my 5-pack, is a website builder. This is truly the bridge to authentic audience opportunities. When we think about those skills, those life and career skills, we need to think about how are we presenting opportunities for our students to get feedback on their work. We want them to be creating and expressing their learning for folks beyond the teacher desk. We want them to be able to share out with their peers, to get feedback from their peers. And one of the easiest ways you can do that is through using a website builder. So you are able to use something like Google Sites or Blogger to do that. And now it hits UDL in that you can have multiple methods of expression, text, imagery, video, all of that you can embed on a site. Now, something else that's cool about it is that portfolio aspect, especially as I think about when they get older and they start applying to colleges. Many colleges now do include a section in the application for students to submit a digital portfolio of their work. They're going to need to understand how to present themselves and information and artifacts that they've created in a really beautiful and professional way. And a website builder is one of those skeleton keys that you can use for almost any lesson. Highly recommend. Now, another one that if you're not doing this in the classroom, guarantee majority of your students are doing it outside the classroom. So why not bring it in? It's video editing. With the advent of TikTok especially, you are seeing now more than ever the use of video as a tool of communication. Now, for folks that are on Chromebooks, I often hear, well, Google doesn't have a video editing software. What are we supposed to use? There are lots of things available. There's actually now a way that students, if they have a Chromebook, they can create videos and screencasts with a native app that just came out over the summer. It's called Screencast. It's such a great app because students are now able to narrate their thinking, take you through a slide deck, take you through their work. It's just one of those really easy easy ways that we can get them communicating and using their language skills. Now, as I mentioned with the website builder, it hits UDL because we're getting those multiple methods of expression. I would recommend, if you're on a Chromebook, using something like the Screencast app or WeVideo. WeVideo is a fantastic education product that they can use for editing videos. But again, to me, it doesn't matter if you're on a Mac and you're using iMovie, great. We just want these kids getting the practice with creating video and trying it in different ways. Long form videos for final presentations or cumulative projects, short form videos like with Flipgrid, where you can just do a bite-sized way where they're practicing their oral skills and responding to a question. That's something that we would definitely recommend. Digital inking. Oh, this one's huge. I call it the power of the pen translated right to your screen, folks. This is hitting UDL as we think of really building in opportunities for students to make those hand-to-brain connections with handwriting, annotations, sketchnoting. I was definitely one of those kids that if I was listening to a lecture, I needed to be able to doodle while I was taking notes so that way I could process what was being said. And there are so many ways that you can do this. There are whiteboarding apps available like Jamboard if you're looking for a free and a quick Google native tool to do this with. If you want something a little bit more enterprise and robust, I can't say enough good things about Explain Everything. Explain Everything has an app that you could use on iOS or Android, and it does have a web browser version that you can use on Chromebooks. It is a fantastic tool. I used it both with first grade and with fifth grade. I've seen it used in high schools. It is just an awesome way that you can get kids sketchnoting and ideating, creating graphic organizers and webs of their thinking. This is what we want. And again, it's that power of the pen translated into the digital environment. It goes so far beyond annotations. It just you can get so deep with it. Now, my final crayon, as we think about sort of evaluating these digital creator tools through the lens of those skills, it's computer science. This has been called out. Beth called out technology, computers, and the importance of STEM. I mean, folks have been saying, Barb said, internet, computer, data-driven. I cannot stress enough the importance of sparking computational thinking skills and application. Now, there is a great little paper that's been written about UDL within computer science. I link that here. You will get the link for these slides at the end. If, though, you feel like, boy, Jennifer, look, computer science, I don't know how to broach that topic in my class. I don't know where to start. We have so many tools available for you. I'm actually going to cover those in the next section. It'll include things like CS First, Grasshopper, and Scratch, and we're going to talk about those now. So let's dig into it. If you want to hit those computer science skills, what digital skills curriculum is available to you to do that? We have a lot of self-learning programs that promote CS education. You've got CS First, which is an awesome coding program for grades 4 through 8. It works on Scratch. Lessons take about an hour to complete, and it has a script for the teacher, takes you right through everything that you need to do. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Now, another great beginner coding app to know about is Grasshopper. Grasshopper uses 5-minute activities. They're bite-sized. They include fun lessons and visual puzzles that students can complete on iOS, Android, and all web browsers. You're learning with fun, quick lessons on your phone that teach you to write real JavaScript. It'll move you through progressively challenging levels as you develop your abilities, and you graduate with those fundamental programming skills for your next step as a coder. Now, if you are working with the older students like high school, Google Developers is a one-stop destination for older students that includes self-guided coding exercises. It's got quizzes, video tutorials, technical articles. I linked their machine learning course here, so when you click Google Developers, it'll take you right to it. And this one, I would be remiss if I did not call out. Google's Code Next program works with high schoolers to cultivate that next generation of Black, Latinx, Native tech leaders. Code Next students will join us for programming either through a physical Code Next Live lab or through our online program, Code Next Connect, and they can learn about computer science, problem solving, really becoming creative computational thinkers. And students engage in both individual and team projects during our programs. They take place after school and on the weekends, and the kids are going to be producing websites, programs, other demonstrations of their learning and interests. And they are going to have a mentor-mentee relationship with a real Googler and mature into effective, ethical leaders ready to take on the world. If you work with high schoolers, absolutely recommend that you check out Code Next. Now, if you're working with middle school to high school to college to adult learners, I don't want you to pass up on Applied Digital Skills. It is a free online digital skills curriculum, uses a series of videos to guide a learner through creating a project from scratch. It's really practical things like creating a resume in Docs, designing an infographic in drawings, or planning and budgeting a community service project in Sheets. It's future of work, practical skills that students are learning. And as we think about the 4 skills that we talked about earlier, one of them was technology use and development. When you think of that, we also have to think about teaching our students how to be online, how to have a presence. It's that digital citizenship conversation. If you are someone that is tasked with kind of instructing students on digital citizenship and you haven't looked at Be Internet Awesome, this might be something that saves you a lot of time and provides a lot of value to your kids. Be Internet Awesome is a program for grades 2 through 6. It's got the ISTE seal of alignment on its curriculum, so you know it's quality. It's covering topics like share with care, don't fall for fake, secure your secrets, it's cool to be kind, when in doubt, talk it out. And it's got a video gaming element, which the kids love. I know this from firsthand experience when I taught this. It uses Interland, which is an online adventure. There are 4 challenging games. It's really cool. Now, if you work with adult learners, if you're maybe a tech TOSA or a coach, someone who needs training resources for staff, because again, those 4 life and career skills aren't just for the students, they're for us too, for us as we grow as professionals. And this is something that we want to kind of sharpen our skills on as well to stay up to date. There are plenty of training resources available for staff. If you have new teachers that are maybe coming in to support a, let's say, virtual program that you're running, and they're going to be teaching virtually, and that's an option that they have, you can use the Teach from Anywhere hub to get them kick-started. So it gives both teachers and families tools and tips they need to keep students learning in a virtual environment. For the teachers, it teaches things like how to teach remotely with a video call. Again, if they're a newer teacher and didn't teach through the pandemic, how to manage a virtual classroom, keep students engaged. For families, it provides a tech toolkit that breaks down all the Google tech used in the classroom. There's a video series, a glossary, best practices for family engagement. We even have built out family conversation guides on how to create healthy digital habits, use social media responsibly, balance online and offline, etc. Definitely check this out, and that link is hot linked, so you can click right into it. It'll take you there. Now, if you have recently made the switch to Google for Education within your district, or if you have some teachers who came in from another district that didn't use Google, you might direct them to the Getting Started with Google for Education series. This is an 8-week email series delivered to your inbox every Tuesday. It comes with text and video-based tutorials that take less than 10 minutes to complete. And we have it available for all the different editions of Google Workspace. Now, for all staff, this next one is the best thing that I can recommend to you. Check out the Teacher Center. If you support in any way with technology in your district, whether You're a teacher on special assignment, a coach, a liaison. If you in any capacity support training, check out the Teacher Center because it has training products, on accessibility tools, on digital citizenship. We have product guides for every element of workspace. We even have lesson ideas and materials. One of the newest ones we posted was around culturally responsive classrooms. This is also the gateway to our certifications and programs. So you may have heard of level 1 and level 2 certified educator. Maybe you heard about trainer, coach, or innovator. If you want to check out any of those googly programs, look in the Teacher Center. This is where it's all going to be. Now, I wanted to leave just about 10 minutes left for questions, and I'm going to give you these slides as well. We covered so much, and I know this is really jam-packed. I feel like each section of this presentation could be its own presentation, but I wanted to give you all the information at once. Now, this, again, did not all come from the brain of Jennifer Brown. This was made through research and looking at work that other folks are doing and just aggregating it together. So check out the reference list, and I'm going to give you not only the link to these slides, which is right here, but also, and I believe Karen also put this into the chat, the survey where you can give us some feedback on the session and you can let us know like what would make it better in the future. What did you like that we should keep in here? We listen to all feedback and use it to develop our session. So you can use that QR code to get the slides or use the link that I just put in the chat. But with the final 8 minutes we have, I'm going to slow down the Jen Brown talk train so I can open this up and hear your either reflections or questions. I would love to hear from you. So I will pause to give an opportunity for folks to speak up either in the chat or come off of mute.
Hi, Jennifer. Quick question. I came in late. Will the recording be also made available? I missed the first 15, 20 minutes of the presentation.
Hi, Raymond. Thanks for joining us. And yes, the recording will be made available for the IDEA members to go back and review. Great question. Yeah. Anybody else?
Jennifer, I will just say like one thing that I was really struck by was one of the 4 skills was technology use and development. And I just think that's a really important thing to keep in mind, like just the importance of utilizing tech in different ways. It doesn't always have to be developing, coding, like that is not for everyone. Is there a lot of job growth there? Absolutely. Is it a great skill set to have and to understand at least that computational thinking piece and know how to speak the language? Of course, but I do think that I was really struck by the use. So things like applied digital skills and even the 5 crayons that you really went through really get more at like, how do you use these tools to share your ideas, to influence others, to problem solve, like all of those other key skills. So I really liked that.
That's awesome, Annie. I'm right there with you. The technology, the way that they have crafted that bucket, technology use and development, feels very intentional. So that way it can be all encompassing of different types of technology usage, right? To your point, not everyone's going to be a programmer or a coder, but we are all going to engage with technology in one sense or the other. And so it's something just getting our students familiar with it and going beyond just typing a paper in Google Docs. Does that have a place in the classroom? Of course, absolutely, not knocking it. We just need to make room for more ways for them to engage with different types of technology. And hopefully, you know, you guys can leave with some ideas today for how to do that. Awesome. Well, if no one else has any thoughts or questions, I'm so happy to give you the gift of time back of 5 minutes. Thank you so much for joining.